an ungodly number of sales calls from everything. And you know, you hear the same pitch over and over again. Every so often, if I'm driving, I just mess with them and I like listen. I'm like, I'll give them a response, and then they don't answer the response, or they don't adapt. They're not agile enough to change because they're just going through their script. I'm like, did you not hear what I said? Oh yeah. Did you? What did I say? Phone call over, right? Because they don't know what you said. Because they're just like real estate agents, you know, sometimes, or just anyone. When you're in front of someone, you have your agenda. Forget your agenda. You're just a pawn in their play. That's it. If you're in their house, they've already invited you to do business with them. Don't screw it up. I will say, so here's part of the golden rule of prospecting that I do is, you know, my objective generally is to try to buy the house. The reality is the house has to have certain attributes where I'm going to be able to buy it at a low enough price to be able to make money and do that, because I've got to pay the closing costs and, you know, then flip commissions and closing costs on the backside and everything else, and we've got to fix it up. So that's a pretty big spread. So a lot of times I can get overbid, or someone's going to overbid me because they can just live in the house if it's not in terrible, terrible shape. So what I've done is I've gone to, and I know I'm doing a couple deals with Diana. I think one of them Kevin found, who you guys will hear from later on. And the gold, and actually you have Richard's one of your guys, right? Richard Group? Yeah. Anyhow, he found a deal that was.
I'm cold. I can't hear anything.
Yeah, terrible. Thanks for your help.
Useless.
Robert, you got to remember that Lee's plan B is getting punched in the face.
That's right. I mean, he's got a plan C too. And so Richard had a deal that he was, you know, not quite sure he was going to get a listing, possibly, but he was in competition with other agents. And sometimes there's just the sellers like me that you're going to interview other, you know, multiple people, because it's a great networking opportunity, if nothing more. And, you know, what happens is I said, well, why don't you approach them about trying to just buy the property? And we came up with a price that was a little bit more than what I'd want to pay for it, but we still made the deal, and it's a tighter deal. And now he's just injected himself into a transaction where he can essentially guarantee himself whatever that income was. I think what we're doing is we're splitting the profit, right? So I'll come in with the cash, we'll buy the property, fix it up, and then we split the profits. And so in this case here, he's leaving his commissions as part of the deal. And he now knows that he's going to make something there, whereas before he was probably a 50-50 shot to get the listing. So we came up with a fair price with that seller to do the deal. In another scenario, seller, you know, wanted a higher price. We figured out a basis so that they could make more money, because what they were going to sell it for as is was, you know, I mean, listen, I'm an investor, right? Some of you guys are investors here. You know that we're going to buy something low, fix it up, and then sell it for higher. So not all sellers are in the position either financially or have the desire to want to do that, and whereas we can. And that's another service that you can provide for them, right? Is to inject yourself into that transaction. And by helping them make more money and creating a basis that was fair or kind of equitable for what the work product that you're going to do, they make more money, you make more money, you kind of guarantee yourself an injection into that opportunity. And so that's what I want you to think about, rather than think about, hey, how do you get this listing? Think about, how do I inject they're going to sell the property, right? So somebody's going to make money. So your objective isn't to get the listing, your objective is to make some money. And your first objective is to listen to what they're saying. Your second objective is, how can I get a part of that? Right? And if you approach things that way a little bit, sometimes all these little opportunities just kind of come to light. They just kind of float up and it's like, oh wow, that's a good idea. So in this case, you're going to talk to some sellers. You see a house that needs paint, needs carpet, it needs whatever it needs. And you see that you guys know how to value property. You got the properties that in every marketplace, there's the properties that are fully fixed up. the properties that are, they're okay, livable, right? And there's the properties that just, they need a lot of work, might not qualify for financing, that type of stuff. You got those, and you have a seller that, yeah, hey, I want this price. Walk them through the process, offer them some other options, right? The only option is not, hey, list the property or sell me the house. There are other options. There's, here's a basis, and you have an opportunity to make more once after we fix it. So that's, I would say that is probably the biggest thing that works well right now for me, because I partner with, like if you bring me a deal, I'll partner with you guys, and either you guys can fix it up if you're interested in getting into the fix and flip business, and I'll help you along that process. Or our guys can do it if it's locally, but I mean, I'm doing stuff even all the way to Northern California. So keep that in mind. With that said, I'll give you my phone number, just if you guys want to write it down. If not, I'm sure Lee can circulate it. It is 949, actually, here, I'll do this one. 310-345-2696. I will tell you, I'm not even going to give you my email because I get copied on everything. And email to me has just become paperwork. And how much do I like paperwork? So it's the text messages. If you text me, I will reply to your text by the end of the day. And so text messages are 100%. They're great for me. Phone calls are even better. But as you can tell, I talk a lot. So how am I doing?
What is it again, real quick, Robert?
All right, number again is 310-345-2696. I'll give you the email. It's robert@aremodeledhome. But text me first, don't email. Because if you email me, or at least text me to tell me you sent me an email, I can look for it. So it's robert@aremodeledhome.com. Remodeled is past tense, home is singular. All right, any questions before I wrap up here?
For a fairly new investor like myself, how do you scale up if you run into multiple opportunities to flip? Especially from obviously a hard money transaction, you're good there as far as the acquisition, but then the repair cost.
Okay, so his question is, how do you, if you're an investor, how do you scale up when you're coming across a lot of opportunities, right? So if you're coming across all these opportunities from the repair cost, financial standpoint, construction, and I'll tell you here, so the biggest challenge in investing isn't actually finding the deals, right? I mean, you can network and you can meet other people and you can get a lot of deals. There's many people. So here, I have people ask me all the time, well, how long do you think this flipping thing's going to last? I'm like, well, it's 28 years so far, it's still going strong, because everyone assumed because of 2008, oh, it was here, and then more people did it, and then it just died off. It's always been around. You just have to adjust to it. Sometimes you end up adding on properties. Other times you end up doing new construction. Other times, but the flipping game's there. It's always there, because there's always a distressed situation that someone needs to sell a house that they can't get rid of. Sellers, excellent source of money. Okay, because there's a lot of sellers that are cashing out, especially right now. You got the baby boomers that are selling properties, and they're sitting on cash, and they take it out, and then they're putting it in a bank, or they're going to lose it somewhere else, right? And so if you can give them a vehicle, it's an excellent source of potential investors. And by the way, if they just cashed out a bunch of money on real estate still looks pretty attractive, doesn't it? It's a good vehicle that has already worked for them. So if you're injecting something from that side, that's one. Call title company, just ask them for all of the private holder notes. So these are people that are already investing in trust deeds. And then you have to reverse engineer their information, because usually their address will go to some broker. So find an address with people and market to those. PPM is not a bad way to go. I mean, the cheapest probably is Jillian Sidoti, and she'll help you put together a PPM, which is like a fund. If you're going to go out and actually raise funds, it's the same thing like I mentioned, getting a broker's license. If you're going to be in that game and you don't have either a few capital sources that are plentiful, then you probably want to create a fund, because you want to have that control. right? So rather than relying on either a third-party investor or even a hard money lender or whatever it is, you can grow out of that. It gives you more opportunity to be more agile, right? And so the other thing that's a big problem is your construction side. So I would invest heavily on the project management side so that you know exactly what you're buying. The biggest pitfall that I would see investors make is they get properties and then they walk through it. It's like, I can do this for $40,000. And when I walk through and spend 3 hours there, I'm like, it's $68,000, $70,000 all day long. Maybe $60,000 if we really cut some things back. The problem is when you're eyeballing, you're not seeing how one thing connects to another, and all of these little things take a little bit more time, and time is. So those are the big pitfalls, and there's ways to do that. You can just text me and I'll go over some other things. Let's have some other questions.
Yeah, I guess I was curious about where your deals right now are predominantly coming from, whether it be REOs, whether it be short sales, whether it be just knocking on doors, whether it be what's your source of?
I think of the last few.
Where are you getting business from?
So let's say 7 of the last 9 I bought are all standard sellers. One was an absentee owner. 2 of them, the 2 that were not, were both short sales. No REOs. Now these are almost all off market. So usually coming from agents. Right? They call me up and, hey, we're thinking of listing this property, or I'm talking to someone, and I get brought in pretty early on. And a lot of times it's just if nothing more to present a secondary type option, right? And sometimes that option doesn't work, right? Because they want the money now, or they just want to do it on their own. And if they want to do it on their own, I'm more than happy to help them, because the reality is that's also going to help you, right? Because at the end of the day, even if you get the listing and I don't get to participate in that deal, I did get to help you, and then you might remember that, and we might do a future deal. I like thinking long-term minded. We've got long-term relationships, because at the end of the day, it's your reputation, your relationships that are going to make you the most money, and that's why I've enjoyed networking and so forth. And I think I already went over. All right. Anyway, any other questions here?
What are your criteria for participating in a deal?
So that's a great question. And, the question was, what's my criteria? So I look for things that have I calculate whatever cash I have in the deal at a 10% pref, which means that we use the cost of funds for any money that's in the deal at 10%. Because otherwise I could just loan money out to a trustee and have no work product, no nothing, and that's it. So the way I judge an actual investment is that's the basis cost, whether you get hard money, a bank or whatever, and you leverage to maybe increase the yield. I just use 10% across the board because it's just an easy calculation also for you guys to do in your head. And then also I look for there to be a 10% net to sales profit. That means after all of the expenses, right, that we make 10% versus what the resale price of that property will be. If we do that, we'll partner.
You use a spreadsheet that you can email before sending you the.
I have one as part of my system. What I'll do is I'll put one together. If you guys text me your email address, just put
You get
spreadsheet.
their email addresses.
Yeah.
Everybody's. I'm sure they're screaming on the live feed as well.
So if you guys email me or text me your email address, just text me your email address, your name, and then I'll obviously have your number. But just put spreadsheet, and I'll come up with that by I'll say Wednesday. I'll put it together.
Yeah.
All right. What am I going to say? I'll do it today.
What areas are you interested in?
Right now, I'm basically doing all of California. I haven't done any of the Central Valley, but I've done like Oakland, like the Bay Area, and then I've done as far down to San Diego, all this area. The reason I say Oakland is it's literally, I think it takes me less time to get to Oakland than just to get to LA from.
You get your crews up there?
Okay.
You hire crews up there, or you bring your crew?
I've taken crews up there because it costs 30% less. There you go. So I pay them. They make 15% more, and it's still 30% less than what it is over there. There you go. So if you're a contractor, be the area. Anyhow, you